What's going on, guys? So I know what you guys might be thinking. Why is he reviewing another Fast and Furious movie? And you know what? That is a good question because I don't know myself. I just found myself rewatching one of the Fast movies and I just wanted to talk about it, So I figure out that I might as well just have a little playlist for these reviews because more likely I'm going to talk about some more with you guys. So yeah, just look out for that. Now let's get into the one that started them all. The Fast and the Furious. So to start the movie, we get this pretty cool sequence of these little car thieves. So yeah, I don't really know what to call them, but yeah, they're robbing trucks for DVD players and shit like that. And I'll say that I really like this opening sequence here to start off. You get to see what the plot is driven around, and it's just solid. We then see, unironically, one of my favorite characters ever, Brian O'Connor. We get everything we need for this guy in just one scene. We see that he likes cars and wants to get better at racing. That is all we need. We then shift to him at the Toretto's restaurant, and we get our first look at Car Jesus himself, Dominic Toretto. After Brian gazes into his sister Mia's eyes, the rest of Dom's family, you see what I did there, arrives, and Vince, this guy, is not too pleased with this. So for some reason, he just starts a fight with him, and then Brian beats his ass with some nice 2000s music in the background. But my only question here is, Mia says this to Dom as they are fighting.
Jesus Christ, Dom, would you get out there, please? I'm sick of this shit.
And it leads me to believe that they have done this before. I don't know, maybe I heard it wrong. So after the fight, Dom then tells Brian that he's fired from the new job that he has at his car shop. And after this, as a viewer, you realize, oh, so Dom is him. So after this, Brian is pissed. Yes, he looks to challenge Dom in the next race. Yes, we get a little explanation as to what nitrous is and that Brian has a heavy foot and he shouldn't try it, but we all know he's not listening to reason here. Yes, the race comes up and Brian just looks out of place here. At least at a first impression perspective, But, oh shit, look, it's Ja Rule. Man, I missed 2000s. Yeah, so anyway, Dom gets there, and as I said before, he is Car Jesus. So he's revered and loved by everyone as soon as he arrives. And man, I love this dialogue.
I smell skanks. Why don't you girls just pack it up before I leave tread marks on your face?
So after a little playful banter and some convincing, Brian gets in the race. So now we have our race. And I just love the beginning part where Brian is just trying to convince himself that he's going to win. And man, I can respect it. Gotta love the positive self-talk, brother. Yes, the race we get is nice. It really takes me back to my childhood of watching all these racing scenes. And honestly, even now, I still love it. It generally still makes me feel like I'm in the race and my adrenaline is still up just watching it. And side note, these movies are partly the reason why I love to drive fast myself. And so yeah, a little fun fact about me, But you can just tell from this race that Brian is a daredevil and does not give a fuck. Anyway, Brian uses too much nitrous, of course, and damn near blows up his car and he loses. I just love the little nuances of racing in this movie. They kind of go away from as the movies go on, but it's much appreciated here. But you just love to see after losing, Brian's so happy because he came in second. It's very cute and hilarious, but yeah, so now Brian has to hand over those keys until the cops show up. So everyone is dispersing and escaping, but what I don't understand is why Dom chose not to stay with the pack and just isolates himself pretty much, and even worse, turns into an abandoned building of some sorts and chooses to walk suspiciously near where the street racing is taking place and wonders why the cops are after him. Like, bro, you do not look like an innocent bystander here. I'm sorry. So he runs from the cops, and before he gets busted, Brian saves the day. So as Brian is trying to get away from these cops, we get some info about him from Dom. He says that Brian was in jail for a couple of years, and he tells him that they got this information from the internet. So on their way home, they get pulled over by the Yakuza of LA. At least I think that's what they are. And they take him to Chinatown where they start saying things. Honestly, this part has never really been that clear to me. I guess they knew each other from way back when they did jobs, but it's not that important. But what is important is that after this convo, they blow up Brian's car. Well, that wasn't very nice. Anyway, after that little encounter, Dom offers Brian his famous beer to hang out for a little while, and of course Brian accepts. And at this point in time, he's pretty much already got Mia in the bag, and he just got to follow through. But I still don't really understand why Dom is so mad at his friends here. Like, dude, you could have just followed them, but whatever. Then Brian just starts cucking Vince, and it's hilarious. But then Dom just tells Brian his house is his, but he still owes him a 10-second car. Oh, fuck, I forgot about that. So the next day comes, and we finally learn that Brian is a cop. And guys, we don't learn this until 35 minutes into the movie, which is a little odd to me. Like the movie that this one is always compared to, at least in the movie reviewer circles, that this is essentially a Point Break remake, but In Point Break, we learned that Keanu Reeves' character is a cop within the first, 10 minutes. So, yeah, this is vastly different than that. And I also did some digging to find out that the actual trailer for this movie does not let you know that Brian is a cop either. So, I'm sure for some audiences watching this for the first time, this was a genuine shock to them. But anyway, we learned that he's a cop, and we get our prototypical angry black captain. We didn't see Dom get Brian a job, and all these moments with them are honestly where these movies shine, because these two had genuine chemistry with each other, and honestly, the rest of Dom's crew isn't too bad of characters, except for this guy. I know absolutely nothing about him, but he looks badass, though, I guess. We had a nice little character moment for Jesse. We get to see that he is insanely smart, and we just get a hint of what Tej is going to be for this franchise. Yeah, so then they all have the Toretto traditional cookout, baby. But yeah, since Brian is here, Vince is having no parts, and he's out of there until all the food is prepared. See, Vince is just a smooth operator. He just didn't want to help set up, and I respect it. After their little cookout, Brian is helping Mia with the dishes, and of course, Vince comes in with wanting to stir up some trouble again, so Brian cucks him again. When Mia asks him to take her out where Vince wanted to take her. Damn, Vince, you just keep taking those, bro. So the next day, Hector, this guy, comes into Brian's establishment to ask for a bunch of car parts. So Brian is suspicious and does some investigating. But while he's doing that, Dom and Vince were following him, I guess, and then confront him about it. But yeah, Vince pretty much knows at this point that this man is a cop, but Dom has a crush on Brian, yeah, so his mind is a little jaded. They then tell Brian to come with them to Johnny, this guy's garage, where they see him torturing this guy for parts or something. I'm always so confused about what's really going on here. Anyway, so at this point, Brian definitely thinks this guy Johnny is the one that is stealing all this shit from the trucks, but they need more evidence. So they let Brian go back into the field. But then see Brian and Dom have a heart-to-heart, and this is where we first see the monster, Dom's Mjolnir, if you will. American Muscle, baby. And we see here that Dom comes skin about his past, about why he got locked up. And it's a nice little shonen type of backstory. And then we get to some of the greatest, most iconic lines ever put to film. I would call it Car Jesus' scripture.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time. For those 10 seconds or less, I'm free.
Like, how can you not want to race after hearing that? Come on. Shout out that empowering speech from Dom. We then see Brian and Mia's first date where she tells a little bit of backstory about Dom's family, and I'm feeling it. She basically tells us what we already know now, that pretty much everyone just gravitates towards Dom, including Brian. The next thing we get is them raiding this guy's house, and side note, why is this guy into some shady shit anyway? My guy, look where you live. Oh, and the music that was being played during this little raid, honestly, I mean this with all my heart. My ears almost started to bleed. I felt like the band was doing a ritual on me or some shit. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry for getting off track, but just the raid didn't work, and the cops were just like, yeah, Brian, you know it's always been Toretto, man. Just do what you gotta do. We then see Brian and Dom go out to lunch, but before, let's get a quick race in, shall we? So while they're at lunch, Brian pretty much rips the Band-Aid off, and it's like, yo, Dom, I know all that shit that you got under the hood of your car is not from having an honest living, goddammit. So, after Dom hears this, he's like, all right, I'll let you know what I'm into if you show up at Race Wars. Because I still got to see you actually win a race before you can work with me. And honestly, that's fair. And so we then get to Race Wars, and this is car heaven for a street racer. And then we see Letty's kicking this guy's ass early. And then we see that Jesse's going to put his father's car up for a race wager. And I really wish we got at least one little scene of the backstory in that, because we learned that his dad is in jail and that he has a car that he loves, but that's all new to us now. Like I just learned about this. Like, what the fuck? And so, as he's about to race, we see that he's racing this guy. Yes, we pretty much know how this is going to end. So, yeah, after he loses, he just kept on driving, left my ass off. But I've always just felt that this was out of place. Like, he just offers up his dad's car out of absolute nowhere. Like, that was just weird to me. It's never this irrational throughout this entire movie. But then after that, Johnny's angry because he accuses Toretto of snitching. And if you know Toretto, that's not how he rolls. So he just starts beating the absolute shit out of this guy out of pure respect. Even Letty gets in on the action. But after all that, we never even got to see Brian at Race Wars. Ah, pain. And then we never, ever saw Brian at Race Wars. Fuck. So Brian, for some reason, can carry this convo between Mia and Dom. I guess at least that's how it's filmed. And Dom goes off to do one last job, pretty much. If only you knew, my friend. Yes, after you leave, Brian comes clean to Mia about being a cop and convinces her to tell him where Dom is going. Now we're in our finale, and we see that they're going to jack the truck as usual. But, yeah, these truckers are no longer going like that. Yeah, so they're packing heat. And, yeah, they're having a pretty rough time here. Yeah, so Vince is almost killed like 4 times. And Letty damn near dies. And after Letty does this guy goes to rescue her. And then we never see or hear from this guy again. I do wonder how he's doing. So then Brian comes and rescues them. And Dom finally finds out that his new bestie is a cop. I know how you feel, brother. They drive off and Brian arrives at his house, pretty much begging him to come quietly. But while that happens, Jesse just comes back. Wow, that was extremely convenient. And he's in shambles, but don't look now. We've got a job happening, baby. And man, I love this editing. But shit, Jesse's now dead. RP, bro. And so Dom fires up the monster to go get some sweet revenge, and boy, does he get it. And then a nice chase scene happens, nothing too long. And then we get Brian with his John Wick level aim, shoot this guy's tires and kills him. Nice. Now we have the climax of our movie, where we get what we've been waiting for, a rematch. And man, I cannot tell you how many times I have rewatched this scene, man. You gotta love how that Charger just flips up. Woo! And you just gotta love the final shot at the end of it, where they both just beat the train. Oh, and Brian won, by the way. But after that, Dom just gets destroyed by this truck, and we get Brian's moment of truth, where he just gives up his keys and lets my boy get away. Truly one of my favorite on-screen moments, and I just can't tell you why, but I just love it, you know? But then for some reason, he becomes a cop again in the fourth one. That's a video for another day. Anyway, you guys, I had an absolute blast watching this movie again, and I damn near want to go rewatching again now. LOL. But nah, seriously, man. Thanks to all of you who watch and support, and I'll have new videos coming out soon. Take care, guys. Peace.